you're an employee for a company to give you something to do. Were you looking for more stuff to do, or did you kind of think that it could lead to something else?
I wanted to be on the radio.
She
ends up painting me this painting, and she gives it to me at a show one night, and I go, what's this? And I go to turn on the back. She's like, no, that's only for you. I'm like, all right.
I had to juggle that. Do I want to say I smoke pot? Because that may impact every job in the future.
It's the same thing with porn. I mean, it's not the same thing.
I never watched porn. I've never watched a porn.
I believe you. But
there's something dysfunctional about wanting to get up on that stage and make people laugh.
You're an insane person if you want to do that. If you're an insane person, because
hello, family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Liem. This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube in 4K and audio streaming services like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now onto the podcast. We got Gooch in the house. All right. So thank you for joining us.
Right on. Great house.
Yeah, this studio is growing, dude. Even I think 2 weeks ago, it was 3 lights, I think it was. And now it's gone to 6 lights.
So we look better.
And before it used to be 4 lights there. And now it's I don't know, it's freaking 10 lights back there now.
I walk in and it's 30 rock.
Yeah. Hey, for our listening audience, it's 3 really good looking dudes right here.
Yeah. So Gooch, tell us about what you're doing. Metalsucks.net, and then your comedian stand up.
Yeah. Okay. So I have 2 podcasts that me and Petra Spych both do. He was on the podcast earlier.
I love to talk with him. Yeah.
And he had glowing things to say. But I do the metalsucks.net, Metalsucks podcast with him, and either Jocelyn or Sylvia, they go back and forth. And then same thing with Rise to Offend. We do the Rise to Offend podcast, which is a documentary podcast, really delve into a lot of deep topics that are tough to talk about. And things that were okay back then or hated back then, but thank God it happened because it kind of paved the way for things to be now. You know, it kind of makes us all point a finger at ourselves. So I really enjoy that podcast a lot. A lot of work goes into it. I do stand-up comedy. I'm all over the Las Vegas Strip, Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. LA Comedy Club is my home club, LA Comedy Club. Jimmy Kimmel's when it was around, Bonkers. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Delirious Comedy Club. Yeah. So
awesome. That Rise to Offend, I thought it was a really interesting concept. So you guys are taking I'm trying to remember Pantera. I forget if you guys.
Oh, Phil Anselmo.
So you guys talked about how Pantera, for this example, you're talking about how Pantera has caused any type of riff with culture where it changes some people's perspective on that type of music or a certain incident.
Right. So for example, when you look back at, there's certain things that people forget or they choose to forget in order for them to get their cause. You know, a lot of people, they think they've done their research and they've really done only a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, because a lot of these things are part of a bigger point. So it's hard to get to. And that's kind of what this show does. It kind of points out that it's not just one thing. There's many things that have to take place, or there were many things that we could have avoided and didn't, or many things that we did avoid because this one awful thing happened. I mean, it's just kind of, to me, it's a show about balance, really.
Wait. So there's a couple of Pantera songs that I like to bang my head to.
Okay.
What am I missing? What's the next level?
The next level Pantera?
Yeah, there was something more that I'm missing, right?
Oh, well, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. There's so many. Well, with Pantera, it's they
Are they actually racist or something?
Is that what we're getting to?
No, I don't know. I'm asking what the...
Oh, the thing is he did something that, with Pantera, with Phil Anselmo, he did something that he said Sieg Heil at a stage, but I think he was just trying to be just stupid, not really trying to start a Nazi movement. But again, it was a poor choice of words. You're a dummy for even thinking you could say that joke out loud on a microphone. But the thing is, I just think, but this is also a guy.
Wait, you just did it.
Right. Wait. Take it easy. Whoa, what did I walk into? But
It's the Nazi trap, of course.
But right, exactly. I was like, God, I was the only one in here with blue eyes. I knew I was going to walk right into a trap. You guys are going to get me. Oh, liberal media. No, I'm joking. Sucker. But this is also a guy that was raised by a black dude, and it's okay. and so when basically what it is you think you know something about somebody, but you really know nothing.
Okay.
The who came up with Rise to Offend? That was a Petter or you?
Petter came up with that idea. I came up with Rise to Offend, and that was just, it originally started off as a 3-person podcast, or a 2-person podcast. Then we brought Pete aboard, and then we were a 3-person podcast for a while, and continuity, members constantly dropping in and out. So we just decided to drop that, and then we were going to hang it up all together, and then Pete came to the table with this idea, and we dropped it for like a week, and then we moved on to this concept, and we were doing it for a few years. And Pete's got 2 kids now, so it's a little bit harder to keep Rise to Offend going, but Metal Sucks is still going very strong, and we have a big listenership with the metal community.
So Peter said some really glowing words about you on our podcast. He after speaking 3 hours to him, his personality seems so positive. Like, he doesn't want to say bad things about anyone, and the way he lives his life, it seems like he's really thinking about all his actions, even the way he raises his kids, and trying not to, from my understanding, not to spoil them. Mm-hmm. So when he said to have you on the show, he was talking about your personality too. Where did you guys meet, and what?
Well, Pete and I met when we were 15 years old. I was 15, he was 14. It was in PE. And I had a mullet, and and I didn't really have a lot of friends, but I was angry all the time, and just, I don't know, Pete and I just became friends. And then it wasn't until I graduated high school until Pete and I really became close. And he's just always been the guy to pull you back. Like, everybody needs a friend. Okay, they always say this garbage. They always go, a real friend is someone who can keep a secret, or a real friend is someone who will help you bury a body. You ever hear that dumb shit? A real friend is someone to help you bury a body. I'm over here thinking, I'm like, a real friend is someone who doesn't commit murder and then make me an accomplice. You know what I mean? Like, a real friend is somebody who commits murder and goes, you know what? I don't think I'm going to bother Brandon with this one. I think I'm going to take this burden on myself. That's a real friend. And that's what Pete reminded me, because again, when you're around stand-up comedy and you're around rock and roll all the time, it's like there's this big idea, there's this big honor amongst thieves thing, and thieves really think that there isn't. So when you got a friend like Pete who's constantly keeping you from being your worst version, like me all the time. Like, he's like, maybe you shouldn't smoke so much pot, Brandon. And I'm like, you don't know me, dude. And I'm like, I got all this anxiety. I smoke pot all the time. And he's just like, well, do you ever think that the pot is causing the anxiety? I'm like, shut up, dude. That's not what they say. Sure enough, that's what they say. But he's like, all right, man, lets me figure it out on my own. And but that's the thing. It's like, when you have a friend like that lets you know that the more you push, the more people are going to resist. Like, that's when, like, you realize you're just doing more damage the more you fight for your cause. So sometimes you just have to let people realize for their own. And that's what Pete did for me. He made me realize, like, how, selfish I was being at many times, at many points in my life. And, just by pointing it out. And yeah, we had lots of curse words said to one another. Where he's my brother, though. I mean, it's like, you say that to the people you love most. And I don't think you could be in love with someone unless you haven't said fuck you to their face. You know what I mean? Yeah. I really don't. I just think that if you love someone, there's this line on love where it's like, if you love someone this much, the more you love them, you can go to hate. You know what I mean? It breeds right there on that line, and it's so easy to go cross that line because passion's involved.
Yeah.
Or if you don't care about somebody, then you disengage and remove.
That's the worst thing, disengaging. Like, the whole idea of, couples aren't supposed to fight. Yes, they are. You're supposed to fight. You're supposed to do that, because the more you don't, and the more you show no emotion when something bad happens, like, what are you saying to that other person? You're letting them know they don't matter. So yeah, like, the fighting lets that other person know they matter. Now, granted, there's tears. I'm not saying you hit him with a steel chair. You know what I mean? I'm not saying,
but they're a wrestling couple.
But I'm just, maybe a crossword like, hey, I don't like that. All right, let's talk it out. Great.
It's funny. I don't know if you just saw my facial reaction when you said couples should fight. I was kind of like, but it was actually more that I was surprised.
Yeah, the guy with the wife in the room.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just like, not you two.
I'm actually.
Yeah.
She's picking up a steel chair right now.
He's like, I'm gonna get him. Okay.
She's disconnecting the Ethernet right now.
She's watching.
That would hurt more.
90s WWE Raw.
But it was more that I was surprised that you're being honest. I think that what you're saying, I think most people kind of go to this society says I should say this type of, I don't know what it is. We conform, I guess. So most people would say, well, I don't really fight with my wife that much. But in real life, when they're home behind closed doors, sure, they have arguments. Most of them should. If they don't, then there's probably actually something wrong.
I really think the key to every fight is it can't be in front of an audience. Like the second you start fighting and you look at someone and go, right, she's being a bitch, right? Like, okay, now we just lost any and all possibility. You just disrespected your lady. You just looked like and you put your friend in a bad place. So it's like, if you could keep it behind closed doors, keep the volume down, as much as you can. Try not to throw sharp objects at one another,
You've given some thought to this domestic fighting.
That's what I'm saying, right? Try not to make fun of each other's families, and I think you'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like, and not only is your dick trash, but I hate your dad. It's just
Probably inherited it from him.
right, exactly, right? It's the curse.
So you also do radio. Is that something that you're able to talk about on podcasts? Or
Yeah. So I've been working on a Comp 92.3, the rock station here in Las Vegas. It's where I got the nickname Gooch. I just celebrated 20 years at that place.
I was going to say, you've been on air forever, bro.
Oh man, I've been on air forever. And it's like, and it's great because that building, I have nothing but great things to say. They've let me screw up time and time again. The things I've been pulled into the office for, I'm like, oh my God. I run it by other people that are in radio and they're like, it's like, it's almost like they're like, yeah, we talk about you and we don't get it. Like, we don't know how you still have a job. And I'm like, I don't either, so, but it's just been one of those moments where it's like, you learn, you just learn so much about life having a job like that. And then you end up, one minute you hate it, and the next minute you wake up one day and you're so thankful for it. And that's where I'm at in life right now. Just everything that's happened to me, I'm extremely grateful and thankful. And I don't know, you find a place like that, you're good in life.
How did you get started in that career? And is it something you would suggest for people to try to pursue?
No, there's not enough of those jobs to go around. You can't be stealing his job.
Right, yeah, exactly. Take it easy, okay? If you're thinking about doing radio, start a podcast. Okay.
It's a bigger upside.
Exactly. Yeah. Talk your wife into helping you out with it, and but I will say this: if you want to do it, you can do it. I got into it, and the way I got into it, people say like nobody ever gets into it that way. But then I talk to other people and they tell me their story and I'm like, that's how you got in? Yeah, that's how I got in. So everybody just has their own adventure. I got in because I used to call my mentor, her name was Kara West, and I used to call her. She used to work 7 to midnight, and at the time I was working at Home Depot in the stock room, working 12 to 9. And I just thought that was the best job in the world because I didn't have to talk to customers, and all I had to do was just sit in the back and pretend to be counting, and the day was done, right? It's like, it was just...
Did you get to listen to Pantera?
I got to listen to Pantera, and plus I was alone, so it's just like... But I will say, though, it's like that much seclusion, like you do start going crazy, It's like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You write that 50 times in a row. But I was working 12 to 9 there, and all of a sudden this chick shows up on the air on Comp, and I've been listening to Comp forever because they've been around. Yeah. And she was working 7 to midnight, but I would catch her these last 2 hours, and she would do these bits, and she was hardcore and just like kind of mean-spirited, but kind of, mean-spirited, but to the right people, like, yeah, fuck them. That's right. So you would get into it, and it just pulled me right in, and I used to call her up and start doing some voices for her. And oh,
wow.
Yeah. And then she's like, and then after about a few months of that, she goes, call me up every day, see if there's anything you need. And that's all I did. So and that was a test. I didn't realize that was a test. So every day I would call her up at 7 o'clock. Do you need me for anything? And she's going, well, I have this idea for a character or whatever. And I go, all right, give me 10 minutes. And I call her up and I go, how about this? And I, do some kind of dumb thing. Nice. And she's like, perfect. And then we would just run with it. And then we'd run with that character, and I'd be angry on the air or something. And I would do that every day for about 3 months. And she's like, look, I want you in here all the time. So I'm like, perfect. So I show up there, and I'm in there with her from 7 to midnight, 5 days a week. for about a year and a half. And then I finally got on air after a year and a half, where I was just working part-time. And then that took another 3 years. And then I got started. And then I got full-time and I started doing nights 7 to midnight.
Do you remember that kind of moment? So you said you and Kara. So you and Kara would see each other like about 2 hours a night on a work shift.
Yeah.
Like kind of on and off.
Yeah.
And then did you kind of ask to work with her, or do you remember that moment where it kind of started to blend?
She had me over, and again, I think what it was is I was calling her every day for 3 months.
But leading up to that, were you already doing something?
I was already calling her up. Oh, that's right. I was calling her up. I forgot. Yeah, I was calling her up and commenting on her bits, and I just thought it was awesome that she would always play my phone calls. So I'd be like, oh wow, so I'd be like, oh, I guess that one wasn't good enough. And then 10 minutes later, boom, there it was. She just took it from this time and played it a little bit later on. I'm like, oh wow. So I started calling, and then she just started asking. She's like, hey, what's your story anyway?
Yeah.
And I go, well, I'm 19. That's how old I was. I was 19. I do stand-up comedy. I was doing comedy for about a year, and I couldn't really do much because, there was like a coffee shop, and then everybody had to sneak me into stand-up spots. So I was doing stand-up. Yeah, like literally like
was
people.
That one off of Eastern? Up by Anthem?
Oh, yeah, right. Big baller. Right. Old folks home. That was fun. But yeah, they... But I was doing stand up for about a year, and then I got involved, and then Kara and I started hanging out and started doing radio with her. And then I kind of put comedy. It wasn't on the back burner. I was still doing it, but I could only do it once every week or once every month because I could only do it on Saturday, Sunday. So and no open mic was Saturday, Sunday. And then I wanted to keep my Saturday, Sunday open because then they would call me to fill in like all the time. And that was the number one priority, was getting on radio.
And comedy doesn't pay bills?
Oh my God, comedy doesn't pay bills. Hey, it's so crazy because like there's such a give and a take with the internet. Like the internet gives everybody so much mediocrity that they don't know what's good. But the thing is though, is what's good is so different from everybody else. Like what I find to be amazing, you're not going to find amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So unfortunately what happens is that there's so much mediocrity that isn't bad, but it's so much flood that the good for me, my personal taste, is just hard to get through, so it's like, it's tough. So it's like, I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to internet and the comedy,
Yeah.
Those, when you said you were calling in to Kara, was that, so she, you said you were 12 to 9, she was 7 to 12?
Yeah, she was 7 to 12. So I would get off. So 3 hours a night. I'd get off at 9 o'clock, or I would just clock out because I was done. I was done working. So sometimes I would just leave at 7 o'clock, get there at 7:30, and then she'd hang out, teach me how to edit sound, teach me how to cut up phone calls, like taught me all this stuff. And my boss didn't want to, he just thought I was going to be another one of these guys that was going to be coming and going. And I just kept sticking around, and I wouldn't go anywhere.
Do you look back and think of it as like it's just your personality to try to, were you looking outside of your box that you were like, so you're an employee for a company to give you something to do. Were you looking for more stuff to do, or did you kind of think that it could lead to something else?
I wanted to be on the radio.
Okay.
And it was like, I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to do that job. And it's different because when I got on comp and I started doing nights, I didn't really know how to take advantage of it when I was doing nights. I was just still trying to find how I should sound, whatever. And I still didn't know what I was doing, but
you're learning the job. It's your first time, right?
Right. And, but unfortunately though, working 7 to midnight, you don't have a life, so it's like, and I'm 26, 27 years old. It's like, I'm not, girlfriends are coming and going. I can't meet anybody. This is before Tinder and Facebook and all this other crap. You know what I mean?
Back when people listen to the radio.
Yeah. This is actually back when people like shot their shot and, tried to come up with a pickup line, now it's just kind of like, swipe right. I got you. I like your bone structure enough. Let's do this,
Wait, there aren't chicks that are into radio personalities?
There is. Okay. But it's look, the ones that are going to come seek you out and find you, it's like you got to be a little bit leery of that, like what kind of weird fantasy do you have in your mind? And I've had some weird things happen. I got a story for you. So I had a lady, she shows up one time to my comedy shows.
Yeah.
And she's showing up for a while. She's really, really kind of hunched over and kind of keeps to herself or quiet, And she starts giving me these drawings, these with colored pencils. And I'm like, oh, these are nice. I'm being nice. And I was flattered. Somebody took time to draw a picture of me. This is nice, And these are pictures that she's got from MySpace. This is how long ago this was. So, yeah, give me a time frame. You know what I mean? Yeah, Xena Warrior Princess was still on TV. So it was like, put it out there. So she's giving me these pictures or whatever. She keeps telling me about this oil painting that she's going to make, right? So she ends up painting me this painting. And she gives it to me at a show one night. And I go, what's this? And I go to turn it on the back. She's like, no, that's only for you. I'm like, all right. And I go, I'm going to go take this to my truck. Well, so as I'm walking to my truck, I look on the back of this painting. And she basically says, dear Brandon, I couldn't stop. When I was painting this, I couldn't stop myself. I had to masturbate. And I put some of my vaginal cum on the picture. And I'm over here holding this with exactly. I'm over here holding this with no gloves. I'm like, what, dude? I'm like, meanwhile, I'm only making like $35,000 a year. And I'm over here like, dude, is this worth it? You know what I mean? Like, is this level of fame worth it? Like, I thought I'd be with supermodels and stuff like that. That is not happening. I'm getting cum paintings. This isn't what I signed up for.
That's awesome.
And it was, and then I also had another guy. He was listening to me, and he thought that I was the voice of God. Didn't think I was God. He thought I was his conduit.
Okay.
And then he shows up to work one night, and he gives me these 2 pieces of paper, but they're handwritten front and back, so 4 pages in all, about how I'm going to lead people to this religious renaissance and. Oh man! And
you didn't take him up on that offer?
Yeah, I was just kind of like, well, what's this pay?
That's a good position.
Yeah. You want to be one of my disciples? How you feeling, kiddo? And but yeah, it was. So you'd be surprised at how it was just a lesson where it's like, you don't know who's going to hear your message. You don't know how they're going to switch it around. Like, again, everything you say can be used for and against you. You just got to make sure you understand the balance.
Well, so as a radio voice, you're broadcasting out to a whole city, and presumably tens of thousands of people are hearing you at any moment, right? Is that
Yeah, anytime. So it's like anywhere between 50 and 100,000 people are listening at any given moment.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's it's like that's all over the town, and it is nuts. Like when people say they recognize me, because look, man, I'm not rich. I don't have.
But you're the voice of our afternoons. People's commutes and people.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it's just weird though, because people think because people know you, that you have this certain kind of pull, and I'm like, dude, I just want to show up and talk my shit and go home. This is it. And this my number one favorite part of my job is if a customer calls up and they're like, I want to speak to your manager, and I'll be like, your mom's ugly, bam, and I just hang up. It's the best. And there's nobody that's gonna say anything, and it's like, and that's the joy, and that's real freedom, and that's one thing Pete and I talk about a lot. Like Pete's got a day job, and it puts him through a lot of stress, but he makes way more than I do, way more, and he earns that money. But it's like I walk around and I'm like, but when I finally realized just how good I had it, it was just like. It just makes me feel even better, watching my best friend suffer. You know what I mean? It's just enjoy your money bin. I'll be over here with my $40 chain wallet with $5 in it, $5 coupon off at Green Dispensary.
What are your current big projects? So MetalSucks.net, I think that's pretty big in your life right now.
Yes, MetalSucks.net has always been very upfront with us, and it took Pete and I a long time. We started off at a certain number of listeners and a certain number of likes and stuff like that, and again, it's just Pete's professionalism, because as you can see, I'm not necessarily the most button-up guy. Like Pete is super button-up.
Oh, you look sharp, man. You look good.
Thanks, man. New hoodie, but Pete's a very buttoned up guy. When you really know who he is, he's very structured. He understands that. I'm not. I'm all over the place. But when you're all over the place, that's where wild ideas come from and stuff. And Pete knows how to just kind of go, we'll take this one and this one and this one, and we'll roll with it now. And then he tries to wrangle me into this one idea. That's how when you look at our relationship, that's kind of how it works. And
so is it a podcast to convince people to stop listening to heavy metal?
No. That's the thing. It's like we there's so many stories that come out every single day about these guys, and you'd be surprised at how we just want to open people's eyes to what's really out there. Like when you talk about the internet and how these bands really genuinely struggle. How some of these bands genuinely struggle. There was a certain cutoff point, like at around 2005, where if you weren't grandfathered into this level of fame, you were out of luck. And there's been some amazing metal bands out there, and they're probably barely making $75,000 a year, touring all day, not seeing their families, really sacrificing. And it's because they don't get to sell their records. It's because the internet came along and was like, we're going to take this. And now if you want to sign a record deal, now all of a sudden you're giving up 30% of your merch. It's like they just keep digging into these artists' pockets. And that's kind of what Pete's biggest thing. He's like, I just want to open people's eyes to exactly what's out there,
Okay. So being a musician is not even as good a gig as it used to be.
No. Your dreams are dead, everyone. Right in there. You're dead. No, it's just, what it is though, is there's so, again, because of the internet and because people thought they were jumping over the record labels and all that other stuff. And now, no, it's not that. Where pay to play wasn't allowed in radio, now it is in Facebook and on YouTube. You do pay that fee to get your video out there. So if you go ahead and please somebody with money, and they could go out there and pay for, to put your song in front of 1 million hits, well, it doesn't matter. The song got 1 million hits. Yeah. Doesn't matter how many thumbs down it got. It still got 1 million hits. That's still going to make some money.
I didn't think the internet was going to go that way. I mean, I guess nobody was it Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the internet? He I think in less words, he called the internet kind of a failure because he thought it was going to be the opening of a free democracy, everyone to get free media, everyone be able to say their piece and not be controlled by corporations.
Right.
So Tim Berners-Lee, he said the internet was a failure. If I'm correct, Joe, do you happen to know that one at all? I feel like
don't.
Once
I don't know.
Joe is our factoid person that seems to know randomly everything.
Hey, Joe, how wrong was I in all of my ramblings? Because there was a lot of wrong. I would have, how they got the fact checker at the end of that sports show? Hey, let's go to Joe. Joe, how stupid did Gooch look on a scale of 1 to 10 during any of that?
3.5.
Right on. I'll take it. That's still good. That's good.
That is good.
That's 7.5 on the positive side. So I'll take that. All right.
So to become a radio DJ, would you suggest a certain? I think earlier you said there's so many routes.
I did the math wrong. 6.5 on the positive side. Wow, that is wrong. You let me walk right into that, Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got to bump it up to a 4 now.
Yeah.
Now it's a math show.
I think you kind of said there's so many different routes to get to becoming a DJ, a radio DJ. Is there some type of shortcut you would suggest? Any advice to up and comers?
I always say this. We always try to find our individuality, and sometimes the strive for individuality pushes us to be not ourselves because we're trying too hard now. So basically what it is there is a level where it's like, yes, clean self, respect yourself, brush your goddamn teeth. You know what I mean? It's just things.
It's a high bar.
Yeah, right. You would think that's what I'm getting at. It's like there are little things where you see these people bitching, and it's like, well, they're like, oh, I can't find a job. It's because corporate America doesn't like people that look like me. I'm like, you haven't washed your hair in 3 weeks, dude. You know what I mean? Like, dude, something. Like you have to understand that there's that your quest for individualism isn't going to help you get a job because people are looking to hire you. They're not looking to hire this person who's still who's trying to lead the revolution. They want somebody. They're trying to hire somebody that's going to do what they're fucking told. So there's you just can't. You got to be able to point the finger at yourself every now and then, man.
So you're saying that the way you dress and the way you present yourself is a communication to
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's unfortunate because we all want to be rock and roll. We all want to stand out, and standing out does help you rise up, but you have to stand out at the right time, and you have to stand out when they need you to stand up. And it's just, And nobody really knows that. And if you just keep practicing the same routine over and over and over, and it keeps helping you level up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, it will get there eventually. People just think it's always one fell swoop, and it's never one fell swoop. There's a lot of work that goes into it. For every Pamela Anderson that gets discovered just being a hot chick at a football game, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of other chicks out there that are trying to be Pamela Anderson, and they fuck their faces up.
I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen a lot of them, you know, usually at bar carts.
Do you ever think deeply about what you say on radio or on your comedy shows, and then how that can impact your personal life thereafter?
I do. I definitely think in this day and age where it's just this constant overcorrection of the past, you know, like we have to be able to learn from it and grow from it. We can't be pointing the finger constantly at one another that the internet makes us do. Like the internet makes you think that you're going to be able to get the answers one day for the questions that you're seeking. And no, some of these are so layered that you're not even factoring in. Like I was saying before, it's like you're not even factoring in what is leading to you asking that question, you know? So again, it's just such a twisted tale, man. I don't know. The internet's ruined everything. We hate each other. We hate each other. We hate each other more than ever because of this thing. You know, outside of this show, the internet has ruined everything.
Thank you. Yes. So I guess maybe me asking a little bit of your advice. I don't really know the question I'm trying to ask you. I'm going to give you some of the stories and see where it leads to. So prior to starting this podcast, I was on the fence about talking about marijuana, as in that I smoke marijuana. Recreationally. I've also smoked on the podcast. Eventually, it took some time to kind of think it out. You're talking about finding individualism, but also dealing in a uniform of life, a uniform with society. So I figured once I say I smoke pot and I say it on the air, I have to think about my future of if I ever go back, if I ever go back to the workforce. I'm at a certain position where I may be able to do this full time for the rest of my life, but it's not for sure. So anyways, I had to juggle that. Do I want to say I smoke pot? Because that may impact every job in the future.
It's the same thing with porn. I mean, it's not the same thing. It's
I never watched porn. I've never watched a porn.
I believe you. But
I don't inhale.
Yeah, right, exactly. But in essence, though, to a far lesser degree, when you do admit out loud on camera, on microphone, in front of others that you smoke this marijuana that the kids are talking about these days, you are letting corporate America know that maybe you're not the choice, you know, but at the same time, though, there are plenty of people that do smoke marijuana in corporate America, and they just have to be able to show, Joe smokes, but look at what Joe can also do. So it's like, it's not like it's hindering his ability to do whatsoever. So I do think that when you mention it, it's not like it's going to be a door slammed in your face, but it is going to be a little bit longer trail to show the people with money that you could do the job that is being asked of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's different. I think it's pretty common and pretty well accepted.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so you're talking about just, you know, how the performance is when somebody's high. How am I doing right now?
I think you're doing fantastic.
All right, cool.
No, but I mean, as far as like in say 10 years from now, if you had to go back to an office job, I think if you don't show up in, you know, flip flops and a tie dye T-shirt with your dreadlocks, then there's not going to be that stigma. If you show up on time in your suit and tie, then you're communicating at that moment.
And on top of that too, if this is a podcast about pot, is it a podcast dedicated? So it's not dedicated to pot. Mm-hmm. So if you're just saying on a podcast, hey, I smoke pot, I don't think when you go for a job that they're going to go, okay, he's got a podcast. Quick, let's listen to all 100 of these episodes and find out where and when he admits to smoking the devil's lettuce.
No, but then you put together a clip of the 27 times, right?
You're right. Exactly. It's just like, I smoke. I smoked
a lot of weed.
Yeah, I mean, prior to saying that I smoked pot on the air, that was kind of a factor, something I thought about. I think our society is reaching a point where I don't know the number. If I had to guess, we're probably, I don't know, 60% of, I don't know, 40% of people smoke. I don't even know.
It's a big number.
It seems like it's big. Or I'm guessing.
I think it's not the taboo, naughty thing that it used to be.
Yes. So I think that's kind of like what I was factoring in prior to saying that I do smoke was I was like, well, we're reaching a I don't know if that's a tipping point where there's more on this side than the other side.
Well, there was a time, guys, where you could actually get a girl's attention if you go, hey, you smoke? You got weed on you? Oh my God, let's go smoke. Maybe, start up a conversation. Now it's like, hey, you want to smoke? Like, get away from me, creep. I can buy my own legal marijuana. So it's like, once you take away the stigma, once you take away the element, is the bad boy effect even there anymore? It's not. It's like cigarettes, Now that's how I look at stoners in Vegas. Now it's like, hey, you're basically the new cigarette smokers that are pissing off the non-smokers. I hate the smell of weed.
So jump in maybe just to your comedian. Would you call that a side hustle or a? Well,
no, it's just original passion.
Sorry, hustle's the wrong word. I think of hustle. I think has
Joe
hustle,
almost spit his coffee all over his computer.
Has hustle taken on a negative connotation nowadays? I still think of it as a positive thing when you're hustling after work because you're working. Some people work an 8-hour day and then you want to do something afterwards to try to better your life.
With comedy, I've gone from it being the number one most important thing in my life. It's still very important, but I ended up realizing that I never want to live that lifestyle. And no disrespect, and this is where I have to tell like other comics, it's like no disrespect to you if that is your lifestyle, going on the road and hustling and really going out there. Because I know a lot of comics out there that, and it's not about the money, because I know a lot of comics out there that make $150,000 a year headlining, Funny Bones, and they got Netflix specials and stuff like that. But it's just the travel, the isolation, the diet, just not sleeping in your own bed. It's like, I'm not the type of person that's going to put myself into a miserable situation to sacrifice for my art, because in the end, man, we all look back on things and go, was it worth it? Did I get what I was expecting? You know what I mean? And it's like, no, but that's what you also get for having expectations. Drop the expectations. Be happy.
Just give up on life.
Yeah, of course. You know what? Yeah, exactly. Drop the expectations. Same thing as drinking bleach. It's the same thing,
Well, so you still do stand up around town, right?
Absolutely. And I love it. And I'm always writing, and I've made some amazing friends, and I love the craft very much, but making it my number one thing in life. Like I'd rather have somebody who loves me, you know what I mean? I'd rather start a family or something like that. But it's like with comedy, there is a lot of jerking yourself off. And the worst part is you're around other people that are constantly jerking themselves off. So it's like you get lost in this. They're like, oh man, like you'd be surprised at how delusional some of these comedians are. Like they're like, oh, I killed it, or I'm doing good, or I'm about to blow up. And I'm like, because you have a video of yourself sticking your finger up your ass, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a comic out there that does it and he brags about it. Like, it's like, oh, I'm doing this for my art. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is what artists have to do now? Dude, I'd rather, just cut off my ear like Van Gogh, bro. Like, sticking my finger up my ass in front of a camera. Like, my mom might see that, He's like, yeah, but I'm an artist, where's the lube?
So there's something dysfunctional about wanting to get up on that stage and make people laugh.
You're an insane person if you want to do that. If you're an insane person, because again, like we were talking about, the reason why there's so much mediocrity is because it's so hard for the truly original thing to come out, because if it's truly original, it might offend someone. And if it offends someone, or if it gets called racist, or if it gets called, put whatever phobe word that gets thrown in there, it's like now all of a sudden people are afraid to watch it. And it's like, no, this is one guy's opinion. But if it gets the wrong hashtag on it, it's ruined. So staying down the middle is the safest thing you can do now. And it's like, and that's what's being called art. And it's sad. It's really sad. And it's just because we have too many opinions that we're paying attention to when, yeah, sure, this got 100,000 negative tweets, but there are how many millions of people that live here in America that didn't say shit. So why aren't we listening to them?
So then what would be the fantasy comedy route? You know, so you're on stage around town. Is there some path that would be a nice
fantasy comedy
career?
route? You know, just doing like, it'd be great to have like a show a week. I did have a show a week, and I'm trying to get something going on again. I do like producing shows. They're fun. I do like watching young comics progress, but unfortunately young comics get a lot of, you know, advice or from people that they think are successful, but they're really not successful. So it's just hard to buy into it. And we've all bought into the wrong advice, and, you know, at some point in our life, and we have to learn that everybody's going to have their own separate path. So there really is no easy route. You just get into it. You see if you like it, if you like touring. And I know some people that just love it. They love it. They can't wait to get out of their house.
See if you like bombing.
Yeah, exactly. Get out there, bomb your dick off. If you like it, if you like bombing your dick off, you should be a comedian, because you're going to learn, because the more you bomb your dick off, it's weird. It's like it bombs off, but then it grows back a little bit more, you know.
More scarred.
Yeah, exactly. More scarred. Yeah, sure, you can't feel anything. It's all scar tissue, but it's just, you know, but you build up that tough skin, and then you build up your confidence, and you let these people know, like, look, these jokes are working. I don't know what your guys' problem is. And then once you end up realizing that looking like an asshole is just nothing, it doesn't hurt you at all. Like there is a strength to it.
I'm gonna butt in. So we were talking about scarred dicks in case we wanted to jump back. Okay. How long do we have you for, so that I could time my final questions?
Let's do. I got about another 15 minutes. Can we do 15?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll jump into the final questions. I think because that could take up time.
This is great. You guys are doing great.
Awesome.
I'm having a great time. Thank you.
Hopefully you'll be down to do a part 2 of someday.
Hey, sure.
First, final question: what great daily habit or habits do you have?
I try to do Spanish every day on my app. I try to learn Spanish, and I try to exercise. I exercise about 3-4 times a week.
¿Por qué español?
What's up?
¿Por qué español?
Poquito, like ¿por qué español? What is that?
Why are you? Is there a hot chick, or what's going on?
I just wanted to learn it. Yo quiero
Taco Bell.
En español. No, it's yo quiero.
Aprender.
El español. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I try to learn every day, and it's funny because once it's spoken to me, that's the thing. Like once it's spoken to me, I have nobody that's speaking Spanish to me in my life. So it's like I'm just reading it. So once they say it, I'm like, oh. But if I read it, I'd be like, oh, like if you wrote it on yeah, why español? Of course, you know, like, but when you said it, I was like, what? Oh, Jesus, I wasn't ready, you know?
You need Spanish-speaking, like, text friends that you can...
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I just need something, you know, somebody to throw some, you know...
Some love.
Yeah, some love my way. My God. Right. Mad at all my Mexican friends. Why haven't you been helping me grow as a person?
All right, next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
I know absolutely nothing about cryptocurrency. The only thing I know is it is a gamble either way. It's either you bet on cryptocurrency or you put all your money on black on roulette, you know? And it's like, and that's that. I don't know much about it. It's very scary. It's scary because, you know, what happens to the US dollar? I've been putting a bunch of money in a 401k. Like, is this cryptocurrency going to come along? And now all of a sudden, like all this money that I've been banking on is going to, now all of a sudden I am the guy putting his finger up his ass. I'm 70 years old. I can't get hired, you know?
I'm a software engineer. I think the future for crypto is bright. If you ever have questions, you could ask me.
I think your 401k is okay for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think the US dollar will probably be okay for a long while.
The Wall Street and Washington are so invested that they won't let it.
Well, okay. Like, here's what happens, guys. I watched a show that's for smart people, and then what happens is I grab bits and pieces, and then I try to go to smart people and see, is this how it's going? So I was watching a show where it basically said that right now, U.S. is still the superpower, but China is like knocking on the door. And ever since they allowed the Chinese public to buy stocks, that's why their country is just soaring right now. You know, so where communism is so flawed in so many ways, the people are still getting money now, and they're like, well, we're still getting money, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
They're very capitalist in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
And we're very socialist in a lot of ways. It's just, again, it's closer than we think. I'm not about to solve that problem.
Next question. What's the biggest problem for humans and what do we do to fix it?
We blow up the internet. We blow up the internet, and then we take this show on the road. I really do believe that when you give it, it's like, I don't want to say the internet's the biggest problem because it has helped me in so many ways. It has. I just drove all the way to Arizona and back. Well, how else am I going to be able to get that? Am I going to use a map? Like, when's the last time you used one of those?
Yes.
I got a sundial. I'm like, am I wrong here? I don't, dude, we are now all slaves to our phone. So when before, dad would take his kid, here's how you get places.
You never used to have a Thomas Brothers map, that big book of the city?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, my dad would be like, all right, we're going to go here, 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 here. Like, he'd be able to get there, no problem, know? And meanwhile, I'm like, if I don't have my phone, I can't even get from the hotel I'm staying at to the gas station without heading down a alley where there's crackheads everywhere. I'm stepping on hypodermic needles because I took a wrong turn. It's like,
You know what trips me out is when I see people that know the area and know where they're going and they still use the guidance.
Right.
I don't understand that because
there is advantages of that. First of all, it'll tell you if there's accidents,
traffic,
and reroute you so you don't get stuck on the freeway.
Yep.
Speed traps. That's why I like use it to. I like what's it called? Waze.
Yep.
Waze is really good for that. Like, it'll tell you if there's speed traps or if it's construction or whatever.
The people I see doing it though, I don't see them.
But Joe uses it crossing the street. Like, he's just like, where am I?
I literally use it to go into malls too. Like, if I'm trying to find a store in the mall.
Yeah.
Like, the other day I was trying to find a Lego store in the mall and I couldn't find the goddamn kiosk map thing. So I just pulled it up on my phone and it just navigated me through the mall. And I was like, cool, there's a Lego store.
Yeah, there it is. And that's what I'm saying, dude. It's like we're slaves to this shit. And it's like, when before we didn't need that. And on top of that too, what it also does is that it reminds us of everything we don't have. So we jump on Instagram and oh shit, I didn't post a picture of myself smiling, but Joey did, and Jason did, and Becky did, and they look happy as fuck. Why aren't I happy as why aren't I at the beach? Why don't I have the money to get to the beach? All of a sudden you just start deconstructing your life. And when really all you had to do was not look at that, take another bong rip and go back to playing PlayStation and you would have been fine. But you're constantly looking at the screen, realizing what you're missing out on. And it's maddening. It's maddening. I have 20 minutes on my phone where I'm like, I got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And once I exceed 20 minutes, it's over and I'm done. I'm done. I can't look at this garbage all day because it'll drive you crazy.
That was like the Lex Friedman comment from Andrick yesterday. He said Lex Friedman does 7 minutes a day of Facebook or social media stuff. He allows
there's probably a wisdom to limiting your exposure to something that might rot your brain.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, now when I would spend 4 hours, you can look on your phone and see how much time you're wasting, like 4 hours of my phone. Like, I could have been, I'm trying to get into voiceover. I could have been practicing that. I could have been writing a comedy sketch. I could have been, there's so many things that I could have been doing. I could have put something out, but instead I'm over here looking at some asshole's cat. Like, what am I doing with my life?
As long as you're not looking at a cat's asshole. Then.
Right. Well, look, if the cat's running away from me, I'm going to see his asshole.
I'm hoping, and I'm on the polar end side of you. I'm hoping that the internet and technology.
You're trying to maximize your time on social
No, I'm not. I'm hoping it shows humans how bad we are. I'm hoping.
Oh, it's shown me. It did.
I'm hoping that we humans will learn from it.
Okay, learn from it.
I don't know when that's going to happen, though.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, again, looking at your phone and looking for directions, again, like Joe was saying, there are so many benefits to that. I get that. But looking at it as a way to make your voice be heard, yes, your voice can be heard, but it's also going to be taken completely out of context. Somebody's going to go ahead and attach whatever message that they want to. Like, I always tell people this. Do you remember the Dallas shooter? The
one that got Kennedy?
One?
The guy, he opened fire on the cops from like top of a building and they had to take a robot and kill him. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
okay.
that was nuts.
The craziest thing about that is, okay, there was a lot, they were trying to pin that on Black Lives Matter. because the guy was he was a black dude, and he was trying to and he was firing on cops because that was what's constantly being shown on the internet. It's like you're just being inundated with things that some of these videos are years and years old, but people think it's happening seconds ago, know, and they get inundated. So this guy thought he was doing the right thing, and they wanted to pin it on Black Lives Matter because he tried to be a member of it. But Black Lives Matter, when they met him, they were like, this guy's fucking crazy.
He got rejected.
We want nothing to do with him. So, but unfortunately, that was the message that guy heard in his sick fucking head, and is like, that's what I got to do. And it's like, so you can't control your message when it comes over the internet. It gets misinterpreted and twisted, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a prison of your own making.
Yeah.
It's a depressing picture you guys are printing here.
Right, exactly. Let's get back to talking about weed. I mean, come on, we were so happy, Liam.
This is almost a weed question. What's your next question? Is what's your favorite food or dish?
Favorite food or dish?
Everything when I'm high.
Right, exactly. You know what? Just cram it in a blender. Let's see. I do love pizza. See, that's the thing. It's like I can't tell you what my favorite thing is, because if I eat pizza once, I'm like, I don't want to have it the next day. That's the last thing I want to eat. So then, so when you're talking about something that I want to eat every day, I can't give you that. But I am a sandwich enthusiast. I love sandwiches because you can change them around. You can change them around.
Cold or warm?
Cold. I like cold.
Do you enjoy warm sandwiches?
I do enjoy warm sandwiches. So it's like, but I like them cold originally, but then only because when they're hot, they get toasted and they cut your mouth all up. Now all of a sudden you're angry. And it's like the same.
Have you ever had Firehouse subs?
Yes, I have. You know, and it's like, and the thing is with like I'm not even a Firehouse guy. It's like the meat's kind of warm. It's kind of not, it's kind of like, oh, this would taste better if this really was handcrafted, instead of just like cut out of the plastic and slapped on a bun and put underneath that toaster. It's like, I know all I'm saying is when you find a good sandwich shop, treasure it, because it's not going to be around very long because too much work goes into it.
What do you guys think about Quiznos then?
It's Firehouse. It's all it is.
Okay.
It's that's what Quiznos started off as Firehouse, and then after a couple years, maybe a drug binge, then it ended up as Firehouse. It's like, that's what it was. It found Jesus, and now it's Firehouse. So it's.
All right, last question. Shout out 2 friends you think that should do this podcast.
Let's see here. Adam Dominguez, and
Does he speak Spanish?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, and I told him to play the game with me, and he goes see, and then next time he does it, he doesn't do it.
Sí, pendejo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mr. Pendejo. By the way, I always thought. It was Bendejo.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Pen with a P. Don't get that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that either.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. You're learning something, man. You're learning something. Let's drop that score down, huh? What was the question again?
Name 2 friends.
Adam Dominguez and I'll say Jocelyn Sharp.
What do Adam and Jocelyn do?
Both do stand-up comedy.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and they both lived crazy lives, and there's always some kind of party that they're gonna, and they'll make it fun for you guys.
Awesome.
They like talking in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you for bringing yourself onto the show for this talk, Gooch.
The one and only Gooch from Las Vegas Radio.
Thank you so much,
guys.
Comp, thanks for letting him come hang with us. Cheers.